Hi, my name is Katherine, and I am doing my TR this week on what was the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, if I'm pronouncing that right. Now, this is about the biblical account of Sodom and Gomorrah. This was recorded in, I think, Genesis chapter 8:19, and in 18 records the Lord and two angels coming to speak with Abraham. And he informed Abraham that against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great that their sin's so grievous. And Abram pleading with the Lord to have mercy on Sodom and Gomorrah because Abraham's nephew, Lot, and his family lived in Sodom. There were two angels disguised as human men visiting Sodom and Gomorrah. And Lot met the angels in the city square and urged them to stay in this house, and these angels agreed. And the Bible then informed us, before they gone to bed, all the men from every part of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called a lot, "We're the men who came to you tonight, and they bring out so much that we could have sexual relationships." And these angels, it was this miracle, I guess, brought by God. These angels proceeded to, their eyes were filled with blood, which blinded these men of Sodom and Gomorrah, and urged from his family to leave the city and escape the wrath that God was about to deliver them. And Lot and his family flee the city, and then the Lord rained down a burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, including all those living in the cities. In the light of the passage, the most common response to the question, I was also thinking, what was the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah? Like, what was it? Was like homosexuality? Like, what really was it? And it came to refer to Sodom, this term came to refer as an annual sex between two men, which is, homosexuality. And this is consensual or forced. Homosexuality was clearly a part of way of God to destroy these two cities. And the men of Sodom and Gomorrah wanted to perform this homosexuality gang rape on these two angels who were disguised as men. But at the same time, it's not biblical to say that homosexuality was the exclusive reason why God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And these cities of these places were definitely not exclusive in these terms of sin which they were indulged by. Now, what I really think of this and what we learned today, I had several topics to choose from this week, but I really wanted to choose this one because it talks a lot. I feel like I remember on Thursday at the beginning of class, you were going to watch a clip and you were like, this clip about homosexuality and gang rape and stuff. And I feel like even though these two angels were disguised, I feel like this does bring back a lot today of this whole much disagreement and agreement on same-sex marriage and homosexuality and gang rape and all these just things that people want to love each other, or people have so many opinions about it, or all these awful things and rape that happen to these people. And I feel like these two angels who were just disguised as these men, but I feel like God always has our back and God's always with us. And I feel like I always used to think this as a little kid, and sometimes I think it now. Like, I always felt like I wasn't alone in my life. Like, there was like an angel always with me. And I still feel that today. I'm almost 15 and I still feel like that. And I feel like there is someone either guiding me in my life other than my parents or these people, or either close relatives or friends that are helping me through struggles. I feel like there's always an angel or someone I can look up to, and I'm very thankful for that in my life. And I feel like me going to a Catholic school and me, praying and me doing all these things really increased just my faith in God. And I always thought angels were these very holy things that were like a kind of less powerful creation of God made in a different image. But I feel like there are some angels that were just evil, and they weren't very holy. But I feel like there's always this devil and this God, and I feel like there's always going to be a connection between that. But I feel like that I always had these angels in my life, but I always felt like there were good and bad times. And I feel like sometimes it'll be like the devil and the angel on your side, like the left and the right shoulder, and always like a good day or a bad day, or make decisions throughout your life. And you would always see those in the movies and stuff. And just like, you still kind of think of it still, like the good and bad choices you make in life. And just, I feel like that's really important to me. And back to the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, those who attempt to explain away the biblical story of homosexuality claims that the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was very, very confusing to people, and the men of Sodom and Gomorrah were certainly like, I can't really, it's so hard to explain, but I feel like it's so easy to understand, but just to explain it. But to God completely destroy two cities and all their inhabitants for being in hospitality clearly misses the point. While Sodom and Gomorrah were guilty of many other horrendous sins, homosexuality was a reason. Yeah, it was a reason that God poured a fiery sulfur on the cities and completely destroying all of them and their homes and everything. And to this day, the area where Sodom and Gomorrah were located remains a desolate wasteland. And that's what I read up on this. And I'm trying to remember as much as I could when I read this passage. It was just a wasteland. And Sodom and Gomorrah served a powerful example of how God feels about sin in general, homosexuality specific. I feel like I understand homosexuality. This also has to wrap into this whole story, how it's not allowed in the Bible, but several Catholic people have different feelings about it. But I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm a little iffy on it. I feel like it's their life, or whose ever life, and if you're in love with that person, you should be happy. But I truly love God, and I just feel like there are these specific rules that we're supposed to follow. But I feel like, we break them, but I feel like these people that you love and you want in your life, I guess you can have that. But it's whoever's choice, and I feel like this is there's very complex things that we do and don't like to talk about with each other, or classes, or a personal one-on-one with the teacher, or anyone, really. But I feel like everyone will just have mixed feelings about this topic, specifically homosexuality and transgendered bathrooms and things like that. But I feel like just people should be happy who they're with. But then it's another point where it's like, well, God made a man and a woman for a reason. You're supposed to be together. It's a little, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's okay to be happy, but other times it's like they made a man and a woman. There's an Adam and Eve. God made these two to come together. And I agree, God does stuff for a reason. God always has a plan, and I've always trusted God. And I feel like people just have these very different opinions on this. But I feel like the sin of Sodom and this, it wraps up together. And even though this is kind of a questionable one, the story of because it gets a little off topic with rape and homosexuality. But I feel like if God wants something, we should obey it, because not just homosexuality, but if you disobey him, there will be a punishment, or there will be something. And I feel like that I have the trust, I hope other people do, I have the trust that I feel like that God will just have a plan for me, and I will always believe that. Thank you very much, and that will be the end of my TR.